partner Munoz, also Munoz. This is Lizette. She works for Safe Horizon. We're the domestic violence prevention officers for the 107. Pretty much every precinct has a domestic violence prevention officer, and our job is to follow up with victims and assist in offering resources and information, because many times it's not always that they might not necessarily be a criminal thing. They might need direction for how they can get their needs met, because victims of domestic violence could be range from all different angles. And recently we've had Safe Horizon come into the 107 precinct, which offers even more resources, non-police related. So this way, if somebody doesn't necessarily want to speak to the police, that resource is available to them at the precinct on a local level, as opposed to them having to find some other place that's going to be a huge commute for them to make things more convenient. That all being said, we put out some flyers because this month, the month of January, is actually Stalking Awareness Month, which is a big thing with domestic violence. A lot of domestic violence stems from control issues, and which many times coexists with stalking. Stalking could be such a broad spectrum of things. So I mean, on a daily basis, we sit there, we assess all the reports that come in, we do checks on the victims to see and follow up with people. And our goal is to try to make contact with as many people as possible in order to get them the help that they need.
The flyer that I gave you is like some safety tips of for the victims. If you know anybody that having problems in the community or stalking and don't know how to handle it, these are the tips that he might take in order to know that she's being stalked or he's being stalked. Okay? There's some websites there too that they might be able to look further information on what stalking means and how to go on about having this, doing a report.
It might be information that you necessarily might not need, but you might know somebody who could use it.
Yeah.
There's always somebody that's connected to us that might need some kind of direction or information. And
yeah, so like you said, my name's Lizette. I work for Safe Horizon as a nonprofit. So we don't only necessarily deal with domestic violence, we deal with other crime as well. So I'm a service provider, so we connect people through shelters. We also offer, mental health, awareness, help them find therapists. We can also assist in order protection, anything to do with family court. So we just help, connect victims that way, because most victims don't know what to do after a crime, especially when it comes to domestic violence. Or we just provide a listening ear, not necessarily if someone wants to get order protection, get someone arrested, but we try to do that for them.
other resources that we have here, these are the NCOs, which are like the neighborhood coordinating officers that also go out there and they're divided into this different sectors in the precinct. They help out, they try to touch base with victims, all other than, domestic violence. They pretty much cover everything that comes into the precinct. It's just a face, face and a name, so that this way they could be a more personal contact. And we got a crime prevention officer and a community affairs officers over here as well, who came out to, they further the whole crime victim assistance, system, and get everything facilitated for everybody so they can have the information they need.
Question? If a neighbor feels that there's a domestic violence going on, can they make a complaint, or must it be the person who is being violated?
Generally, you want to have that victim, but they can make a complaint and the police can respond and an investigation can be done. Generally, sometimes we do get third-party callers that might say something's going on, and we'll get there. In a perfect world, we do need that victim to come forward, but that's what that initial third-party call, the investigators will go, or the police will go, or we will we would respond, somebody's gonna respond, when they respond, you know, that contact, hopefully that line of communication, and maybe even just the hints, you know, if you don't wanna speak now, you can call the precinct later on, is generally one of the avenues we take.
Before we go on, I think we should introduce the people around the table here, so you know who is beyond us. And Elaine here is head of West Cunningham Park Civic Association. See, Cunningham Park right there.
Okay.
And my good friend Alan Sherman is all over the place here as a member of. The only man I know are two of the boards of the local political club, and he's there. He's involved, and we have the Kew Garden Hills Civic Association right over here, my friend. And we have Parkway Village, all right, and we have Fresh Meadows Civic Association, you see? All these are the local pains. They're gonna call up and send letters to you, but he does a job. He has to think now, Parkway is thinking about that. Holly Civic Association, right here. And of course, Community Civic Corporation, right over here. And Abe is our actually is our Jewish link person who represents community newspapers. So we have people here with a lot of background. I'm Central Queens Historical Association. I'm supposed to get everything together, so all the history of this whole area. I try to do the best I can. But that's what we have. And we represent our own constituencies. The question is, I think my neighbor is beating up on his wife. I hear screaming and yelling, and she comes out in the street the next day and she has a black eye and so forth. Now, I may call you guys up, but what right do you have to investigate? Could you knock on the door? Do you call beforehand? What is your reaction to a charge of abuse in a particular home?
On the third park, from somebody else, else.
Go ahead.
Well, it's not necessarily a reaction or what power do you have to investigate. We have the power of inquiry at that point. You know, you can inquire, you can ask, you can interview. Short of you being a witness to something, you know, in that case, there's certain changes that might arise, but you have a certain amount of information. You see a person, you hear loud noise, you see a bruise, you report that. We can respond, we can knock on the door, we can attempt to make contact, we can try to interview. Anytime that there's some kind of domestic incident, allegation or anything, a report always gets done. Depends on how much information we can possibly get. You know, sometimes we can get that information from the third party, sometimes, you know, we need to verify with the victim to make sure that everything kind of works. But it's all, you know, it's all fluid. It's not gonna necessarily be all, you know, cut and dry every time, you know?
What other agencies do you work with in the city? HR, Human Resource Administration, aid to dependent children. When you hear a child is being abused, you take the agency representative with you, or what happens if you file a report you think is abuse? You hand it over to the other agency that handles it.
Well, it depends on the availability of those agencies. I mean, we do contacts. My partner Munoz has contacts with ACS and, you know, adult services and stuff like that. We will, if in the event that they're available to respond, they will contact us and we'll go together. Sometimes they go out by themselves. It depends on what the situation is and what they need and what they want. Because sometimes these agencies don't necessarily want the police all you know, involved every time, but when they do need it, they definitely let us know, and they have constant contact with us.
Okay, thank you.
Recently, I had a stalker, a cyber stalker. You know, he emailed me that he had an old password of mine that I don't use anymore, but he threatened me that he's gonna, you know, use it to, you know, open up websites or whatever, and I should send him $5,000 in Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the fact that he had an old password, you know, I was a little concerned maybe he has some kind of tricks up his sleeve, you know. So I went into the precinct, at first they didn't want to take a report, and it was very nice of Lieutenant Morelli. I don't know if you know who he is. You're from the 107th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant Morelli called me. He was very nice. I came in, but they, even then, after that, I mean, I mentioned Lieutenant Morelli said I can file a report. They looked at me like I had horns on my head, you know. Like, you really want to do this? Oh, it's just, you know, it's just cyber, you know, just stalkers, you know. You know, obviously people, first of all, are falling for it. We know that. People fall for all sorts of stuff. I mean, I didn't send them anything, but I'm sure people are falling for it. And they, at the very least, intimidate people. And, you know, they didn't even take, you know, Lieutenant Morelli told me I should print out, you know, with the message, with the raw headers, you know, put in all the information about the email, bring it in. They didn't even take that, you know. I mean, Safe Horizons was nice enough to call me, you know, as if I needed help from them. You know, unfortunately I didn't, but it just, you know, by the way, I had filed with the FBI. I sent them information. They never got back to me. You know, whole thing is slipping by. Nobody's taking care of it, or at least around here.
Well, I mean, as far as your incident, I have no clue.
It doesn't have to be my incident. It doesn't have to be.
I know it doesn't have to be your incident, but as far as your incident, your specific situation, I don't know what happened with that, and I wasn't there. So,
Okay.
I mean, I can't really speak to that.
Right.
Generally, cyber contacts, things like that, I mean, you know, if there's a crime being committed, you know, a report should be done and would be done. As far as being stalked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's the whole point of the tip sheet that we gave out. There's pointers there that are right there. Keep track of these timelines, keep track of this information, and do what you have to do to have these timelines and these contacts documented so that, you know, an appropriate investigation can be done.
Yeah, but you realize that from what I said, I provided information that they didn't even take advantage of.
Like
You're
I
talking
said,
about tips. This was the tip. I took in the information, I gave it to them, and they didn't even want to take it. You know what I mean? So what is the good of tips when you don't follow up on the tips?
I can't speak for whoever was
Okay.
spoke to.
Right.
You have a special unit that handles cyber attacks. You know, like someone prints photos, you don't. Where is it?
Right there.
All right, tell us, what is your reaction to things like that?
Sure.
All right.
Well,
So you want to contact
in
him?
a case like you, sir, you have someone soliciting money from you.
Right.
No money was taken, correct?
Correct.
Any of your personal information taken?
No.
Okay, so you spoke to a lieutenant in the New York City Police Department, and he advised you that there was no crime committed.
Yeah, but that's a threat. He threatened me.
How did he threaten you?
He said, if you don't do it, I'm gonna get into your computer and mess you up.
Well, a threat would have to be against you personally,
Oh, not about my property?
not about your property, no.
Oh, really?
No.
If I threaten I'm gonna blow up your house, that's not a threat?
Well, that's different.
Oh, why is it different? Why is it different?
Because it's a lot different. Once someone goes, that's causing personal injury.
Oh, but personal, if he gets into my bank account, that's not personal injury?
Once he comes into your bank account, then we have a crime being committed, and that's grand larceny.
Okay,
and then you can
but we're
fix it
talking
too.
about the threat. Wait a minute. In the example I gave you, I didn't blow up your house yet. I just
But-
threatened you with blowing up your house, right?
You're using two completely different examples right now. You're using two completely
I'm
different
comparing the
examples.
two.
No, you're comparing someone attempting to steal your money as opposed to someone destructing your personal property.
Right.
Or potentially harming somebody. There's
Right.
two totally different things there. You have to understand that. Now, there is thousands and thousands of people calling on a daily basis, trying to hack into your account. There is no crime being committed. I have a whole list of scams here that I'll provide for you guys, safety tips that you have. And you can take one and pass them around. And a lot of it has to do with identity theft and people breaking in, into your account, hacking into your account.
I already have.
Yeah, pass it over. And I'll just go over quickly a couple of things.
You have one more?
All right, I got a bunch. Did you get one, sir?
Okay, thanks.
No.
Thank you.
Guys need two? You got one? All right. What's that?
Name?
I don't have a card. I'll give you my information afterwards. And it talks about all the scams that go on. ATM scams, ATM skimmings. You know, they have skimming devices. They hack into your personal account, your checking account, and they withdraw thousands and thousands of dollars. Once they take money, then a crime is committed, we investigate it. We have a fraud department. The detectives in the 107 will investigate the case, okay? I'm trying to find the page right now.
So a threat is not a crime.
What type of threat? Threat against?
Threat of, well,
A threat against a
in other
person?
words, a threat of interfering with your computer, a threat of setting up a website is not, I'm not gonna talk about blowing up the house, but that wasn't his.
Yeah, that's two
particular-
totally different
I know it's
examples.
different, I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying a threat against, property in this case.
A threat against property,
It could
saying,
be as a computer, a threat, disassembling. his
Either
computer,
theft or sabotage, one or the other, right?
well, through coercion.
Well,
If they go into your account through coercion and you give out your personal information, then you have a crime being committed. But as long as you.
no, not coercion, no. If he has the ability to manipulate, to crack into, like an expert,
Well, that's where I come in and we do crime prevention, to
Yeah.
prevent anybody from going into you.
In
And
this
you
case,
can use,
in this case, isn't the threat extortion? He's
All
extorting
depends.
X number of dollars.
right.
did he take any money?
No, but the
We're
extortion,
talking about
but the
extortion.
extortion, isn't extortion the act of saying, I'm gonna do something if you don't give me money? So then right away, some people will give money, right?
Yes. And once they do, then a crime is
Oh,
committed.
but before
No, but
that, wait,
extortion itself is a crime.
right.
Extortion, yes.
So
Right.
that's the threat of.
What
in
is
other words,
being
if
extorted?
You don't do this, we're gonna
But
do
what is
that.
being extorted?
Money in this case.
Money was taken?
No.
No extortion.
No.
There's no extortion.
We're talking about the threat itself is
The
extortion,
threat
which is a
itself,
crime.
don't respond to the emails, don't answer the
Oh,
phone.
okay, wait a minute.
That's what we're gonna recommend.
If I came up to you, and said, if you don't give me $5,000, I'm gonna mess you up with whatever.
Okay,
Okay.
then you go to the police because now I have a description.
Oh.
I have a male white
Oh.
who's wearing a blue shirt. You don't have an identity of
But
somebody
an
right now.
email is an identity. Email has this, as you know.
Well, like I
Of
said,
course you know.
somebody already invested your case, a lieutenant in
No,
the
but
New York City
they
Police
didn't even
Department
take
investigated your
the. No,
case.
they did not
So-
investigate my case. They didn't even take the paper that showed the trail of the digital trail of it.
Mm-hmm.
How can they investigate if they don't take the digital trail?
Can you investigate a phone number?
Sorry.
Can you investigate a phone number?
One of the,
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're repeater lines.
one
They
of,
go
one of the
with-
things you need to take
So it's
also
the
into
same
account, and you have to understand jurisdiction.
Okay. Right. That's true.
When you're getting contacted via digital
I
forms,
have something.
these contacts are coming from,
It could be coming from India. True.
so
From Ukraine. Whatever.
that person might not necessarily be governed by our crimes,
That's right. But so.
on our laws.
Okay. First of
Understand
all, it's
that? But
possible.
listen, I'm sorry, but we're going back and forth, and you're just gonna continue on with the same.
I'm asking silly questions. I know. Yeah.
We're saying
Move
with
on,
this-
please.
You're doing a lot
We're
of
going,
what ifs.
we're going back, what ifs, we could what if.
Alan,
You
you have something to
understand and you
question?
accept the fact that there's possible jurisdictional issues here. I cannot speak for your incident or your situation, okay?
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, I wasn't here to sit here and argue about your situation, because right now, all you're doing is arguing.
Excuse me, I think that's a little
Let Alan
demeaning
ask
to
a
me.
question and
I think that's a little
dominate the whole thing.
patronizing to say that I'm arguing. I think I'm asking very legitimate questions,
And I
actually.
understand that, and I
Yeah.
told you already, I can't speak.
Okay.
What happened.
All right.
that incident.
Alan Sherman, you want to say a few words?
Traditional abuse is men on women. Have you seen a rise in abuse of women abusing men?
I think,
Well, yeah, well, not necessarily a rise, I can't tell you a statistical value or anything like that, but generally, it's becoming a broader spectrum. Men on women, women on men,
You take
men
that
on
just as
men,
seriously as
women
you
on,
do
of
men on
course,
women.
absolutely. There's victim, if you're a victim, you're a victim, I mean, you know, but there's a chance of anybody could be a victim, there's no
What's the
profile.
percentage of women on men?
I don't have specific percentages right now for you. That's something I would
Is
have
it
to.
a common event?
Huh?
Is it common or rare?
It's not rare or common. It's right there. It's, you know, you're gonna get, we get reports for, you know, all types of connections. You have, you know, men on women. You could even have men on men and women on women. It's just the way it works. Like, the problem with family is there's always somebody there. You can't really get away from them, so that's why these things, these situations, these tensions arise, you know. Generally, family's always around, you know. So it could be anything. It's not necessarily the stereotypical way it was in the past, no.
How do you handle elder abuse? A son beating up on a mother, and a mother doesn't want to testify against the son. How does that work out?
That's a difficult one. It is difficult. You know, it's tough. You know, sometimes with our office, generally, like if we see it's like a consistent pattern, and they're not, we'll sometimes even visit people, you know, on a regular basis. We have programs where we will, you know, make contact with these people, you know, once a week, once every 2 weeks, you know, so that this way we can keep tabs of the situation in case the situation arises. But you know, that's tough. It's tough. It's because, again, you know, we're humans. We're people. We gotta be able to, you know, we can't force somebody to do something. We can try to give them the information, try to guide them to it, but, you know.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, it says that if you're a victim of crime or abuse, so what type of crimes that people may be a victim of do you offer assistance in?
Well, we try to offer assistance with everything, and
Okay.
if we can't help necessarily with the case, we try to help the victim itself, like prevention, other programs, shelter, or something. We're advocates, so we can vouch for them as well, of course, if they don't want to do it for themselves.
So it's mostly abuse cases, right?
No, it can be anything. It can be like a car accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And my other question is, so let's say, for example, a woman or a man or, you know, whomever is a victim of abuse,
Yeah.
and their abuser, you know, lives with them, and they're, you know, terrified to reach out and do anything, you know, like that age-old story, you know, they feel trapped in their situation. So I'm trying to read this card and decipher who they should call. I mean, once they make the phone call, I assume you offer them, you know, resources to help them get out of the situation, but who should they be calling first? Like, who do you recommend they call?
Well, I usually recommend that they try to make a report first. That way it's already written in stone. But if they can't, you know, we can always get the court involved and see if we can get them out their situation. And if we can't,
Right, but they need to make that first outreach.
Yeah.
Who do you know, like, so I'm the president of my civic association, so I find all of this stuff to be very potentially helpful to the person who might be a member of my civic. We have 1,200 members. I'm sure that amongst the 1,200 members, somebody might be getting abused and be afraid to tell anybody or ashamed to tell anybody or whatever. So I want to put information in there that they can use as their kind of lifeline to begin whatever process they need to begin. So who do you recommend that abusees call?
well, it depends on their situation. You know,
Okay.
we have some victims where they can get the police involved because they can put them in more danger. And, you know, sometimes they'll call us, so we try to get
Right.
them out of there without getting the police involved, or it can be vice versa.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So what is?
So it just depends on their situation.
So the phone number that they should call is the 24/7 hotline?
Mhm. So with that hotline number, they can either connect with an advocate, with a caseworker, with court, or even shelter.
Like you also in this crime prevention booklet for seniors, there's phone numbers to call for Department of Aging.
for
Yeah.
seniors to
Yeah.
call, yeah, I have all of this from when you came and spoke at our civic,
Right.
which was great. So, yeah, I mean, I just would like to put a whole section,
Have them pick up the
you know.
phone and call somebody.
Right,
You know,
right.
That's a recommendation.
Yeah, but I want them to call somebody who's gonna, like, make contact, because sometimes just making that phone call is terrifying
Yeah.
to them, because they have to
Either-
sneak the
Either I can
phone
do it,
calls.
or
Yeah.
domestic violence or somehow, you
Yeah.
know, and like, you know, the officer said earlier, people aren't gonna be forthcoming with information, we gotta.
Exactly.
We gotta just inquire and see where it leads, you know?
Mhm.
And if we report something, then, you know, then we notify, you know, Department of Aging, or, you know,
Or-
the rest,
yeah.
if possible,
Right.
if deems,
Okay.
right?
Okay, so I have one other quick question, as long as you're here. So, you know, you talk about what could be construed as child abuse. So I'm just gonna tell you the situation, but I don't know how to find out anything. And these people could be perfectly wonderful parents, but there's a house like diagonally behind me. They have a child who obviously has extreme special needs. The child is nonverbal and can only make like grunts and groans. So, you know, it must be really hard to be a parent of this child. And, you know, throughout the summer, I would hear the child, and so, you know, I assume while they had the windows open, you know, fresh air is probably good for kids who are in that situation. But now it's the middle of winter, and I hear this kid, and I'm like, I'm sure I'm hearing that kid outside. I could go out in my yard, I can't see their yard because of where they're located. I go outside, and I'm expecting to hear, when I hear the child making these grunts and groans, I expect to hear, you know, an adult voice too, and I never do. You know, I would personally look at it as abuse if they, even if they had a little corral sort of where he could be safe outside. You know, I don't think a child like that should ever be left alone outdoors like that. But I don't have a way of seeing whether it's happening or not, because like I said, it's not right behind me. If it was right behind me, I'd stand up on a, you know, a thing and look over the fence and see. You know, and it's probably nothing, but it just is weird. So what, like what should a person do if they think something could be going on, but they don't know for sure? You know, and I don't want to, you know, like I said, they could be perfectly loving, wonderful parents. I don't want to, you know, put them out there and get them into trouble that they don't deserve to be in.
I mean, you can always, I always tell people to contact ACS, because even with ACS,
Oh.
it's not necessarily you're gonna get in trouble. Like, there's some parents, like you said, it can just be hard to raise a kid, and ACS, they offer other services where they can help get that kid, you know, therapy, or get them like a private babysitter while they go to work, so they try to find a way to help the kid without getting them in trouble first. But if it actually is the parent's fault, then we will get charged.
But like I said, it might not be that for whatever reason. It might sound like that, and it's not that. You know, once you call like ACS, even if they investigate and it's nothing, they have a record then.
Well, not necessarily a record, no.
How old is the kid? I don't know, the last time I saw their kid was years ago, and he was about 7, so maybe he's like 11 or 12. I mean, I know he goes to school every day. I mean, every child has a right to an education. I have friends who are in their city, you know, school, and they have kids that are brought in wheelchairs who can't even feed themselves, and they have to be fed and diapered, but they have that right to the education, so they are brought to a city school that has a special program like every day. So maybe this kid, you know, he's brought someplace, he's not there, he's only there after, you know, after school hours.
Yeah. But it only gets on their record if they get charged.
Really?
It's not gonna haunt
Not
them.
even like an investigation?
No, they
gets-
will do an investigation.
But that doesn't go on their record?
No, only with
Yeah.
ACS, and that's like.
What's
completely
ACS?
private.
What's it stand for?
Association of Child Services, right?
Yeah.
Is it on the literature here?
I don't know if it's in the booklet, but.
Or is there a phone number for ACS?
I know when you
Wait, I
have.
was gonna make a comment, we can also, call 911, you know, so we can have a log, and you can put it over as, you know, you heard a child screaming.
So what does it stand for? ACS is what?
Association.
Yeah, unattended
Child
child,
Services.
we'll check it out.
Yeah. Cause even if you call 911 and it's like something is wrong with the child and you feel that, they right away call ACS as well. They're
Yeah,
mandated
yeah.
reporters.
I know, it's just that I'm so, you know, reluctant because they could be wonderful parents, and it must be incredibly difficult to raise a child like that. And, you know, maybe they're doing everything right by that kid, and I'm just a weird neighbor who thought I heard, you know, oh, I hear it every day.
Is there anybody that lives closer that you could ask?
Have a
next
dog,
door to
maybe
them.
walk the dog around a couple of times?
I can't see into their backyard. Only if I was in the house behind it, which, I don't think that any of my neighbors are going to say, yeah, sure, come in my backyard and look, so, you know.
I think we hear many times on the news how things go on that are horrendous, and the neighbors say, yeah, we thought something weird was going on, but we didn't want to call, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
call. There's nothing bad going to happen to them.
it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
On the senior issue, do they get involved with the adult protective services?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
ACS can go out on its own, knock at the door and insist that they speak to the so-called perp. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Doesn't need the police, so the ACS has this power also. Happened to a friend of mine.
No offense to ACS, but with their track record, are they really a reliable organization? But just to show you, my wife passed away when I had a six-day-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. Many people thought I could not raise the kids alone, and they threatened to call ACS. And it's like, one was an ACS person who lived in the neighborhood. And I said to her, go ahead. If they want to take on a papa bear instead of a mama bear, send them to my house. Because look at their track record on how they handle children. So is ACS being handled properly?
I know now, because I just graduated school, but
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, completely. But I know now it's changing a lot, like with ACS, and now we have to take every single phone call. Like it became more stricter.
Right, but a lot of women look upon men as not being able to raise children. And I have been threatened in the past to have ACS come in once again with a 6-day-old son.
How old is this?
This is, my son's 16 now, so this is 16 years ago.
Yes,
But the whole idea is that many people think men can do everything a woman can do except 2 things, give birth and nurse. Other than that, men can do anything a woman can do with kids. So when you find these women who will say, no, you can't do this, I'm gonna call ACS on you. It's like, excuse me? I'm just as good of a parent as a woman would be. So how do you get ACS off your back? How do you prevent people from just assuming and calling ACS once again with their track record?
Did ACS give you a problem?
No, thank God that these women backed off. But they got my anger up a little because they threatened to call ACS, and one, like I said, worked for ACS. Just because I was a man taking care of a newborn baby. So it's like, there's sexism out there against men.
Of course.
How does, and ACS has a track record for having children die under their care. Is that being improved on? Are they a reliable organization now? What's being done?
I say they are reliable because I've seen a lot of things that they did and help kids. You
But
know?
also, are they done away, have they fixed the bad?
I believe so they did, because I have friends who work for ACS, and he said like they're changing a lot, and they have their own guidelines to follow too, with the police department. So
You gotta
even if
remember,
they
it's like one of
interview,
those agencies,
Yeah.
one thing bad happens, it's so bad that it outweighs all the good that they do, and you gotta remember how many cases these people have.
Of course, understaffed, the city should find more money to hire more people.
I'm not even saying on the staff, I'm just saying that one thing that goes bad is,
yeah. 'Cause they're gonna, if like ACS were to get involved, they have to interview you first. And then,
Yeah, but when someone has a temper, you don't interview them.
no, but that is, it's for the child. If they see the kid is being raised well, they're not gonna bother you, you know?
we're gonna have to start wrapping up, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Do you do outreach to the high schools?
Sometimes.
Because there's the
I have.
stalking, there's
I've done it,
bullying,
yes.
there's other things. Because we're an education community in the 107. We got St. John's, we got Queens College, must have about
I'm
7 or
going
8
to
high
college
schools.
next week, and I'm going to St. John's in like another week or so. So
Uh-huh,
I mean,
good.
we try, yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much for your time.